Victims of the punt time season final as well for the review part of the show. We'll still be doing some previews over the winter months, but there's obviously less to talk about, and we'll save that until the good horses return with an eye towards spring. But nonetheless, we were looking at the Coast there on Saturday, which I neglected to mention in the preview. The feature race was called the Coast. I didn't even realise. Rob Scurry, you were there on the Coast. How did you find the day overall?
Pretty good day, a bit of trouble getting in with the old COVID safe. We like to line up, but that's all right. And once you got in there, it was a free for all. But it was a good day. People getting on the booze. Balmy autumn day. Had a win makes it much better. Even got my baller money.
Yeah, indeed. I did see that, and I thought instantly of you. And without even asking, you responded with the fact that yes, I backed it, which was outstanding. Mark Shean, the day at Gosford, the Takeover Target, the Gosford Cup, the Coast. How did you find it overall?
No, it was a pretty good day. Plenty of music pumping there throughout the day. Couldn't hear many interstate races, unfortunately, but anyway, don't worry about the punt.
No.
Backed a few winners, so yeah, it was a worthwhile trip.
Beautiful. And Mark Rhoden, looking at Gosford from afar, what did you think of the meeting overall?
Yeah, not too bad. Avion Fury was probably the highlight for me. It was found it a bit tough. Other than that, I went against Mark Shean a couple of times and paid the ultimate penalty. He was seen very well in the previous show on Friday. Look, the one thing I would like to say is the track played sensationally. It was, I would say, 100% fair. Probably the fairest track I've seen on a Saturday for a long time. They were winning hard fence. They were circling. They could win from anywhere.
Beautiful. Well, we'll start with race 5. We'll go through races 5 through 9. Avian Fury, as you mentioned, was the winner there. Well found by, I think, pretty much everyone, seemingly. Just narrowly held off Parry Sound. High Opinion was in third. Rob Scurry, run us through these horses out of the yard.
Look, Avion Fury stood out to me as the pick of the yard, and then I just, that's Mark Rhoden's bet of the day as well, and it seemed to be backed accordingly. I was disgusted to see the SP at the end, but yeah, look, Parry Sound, I saw it at that Anzac meeting. I think it's definitely got a win or two in it in the winter. He just got a bit hot. I think he can improve, and that's about it. That's about the only horse I could take out of the race.
Okay, Mark Shean, how did you see race 5 there?
I backed my swashbuckler, but then when I saw Avion Fury parade, I was able to cut out of the race, luckily. So I knew that I was in trouble before the race, considering the way the two paraded. So Avion Fury, given a lovely ride by Kerry McAvoy, the stable's aimed pretty high with him this preparation, running in a couple of very strong races, and then just out of play at Canterbury last start, got back on a leader's track, but he got things to suit there on Saturday. They went a long way from home there. I think Parry Sound, probably if he had his time over again, Campbell Rawilla would have held up a little bit longer. Thought he was pretty brave. I thought he could have maybe just sat back going to the first turn rather than kicking up 3 wide, just sat back and had one go at them, and maybe it would have been a different story. I thought he was pretty brave in defeat. But you can't take much away from the winner. Away from that, High Opinion made some ground late. But no, all honours with the winner and a good run from Parry Sound.
Yep, indeed. Mark Rhoden, you obviously like this horse, which we didn't talk about this race on the previous show. Just run us through your thoughts leading into the race.
Yeah, Mark touched on it. I thought he'd been run out of his grade a couple of times as prep. And then obviously totally unsuited at Canterbury last start. Look, sort of the last time he was in the right race, under the right conditions, he won quite well at big odds at another Canterbury night meeting. And I thought if he could just, he looked set up to get his chance on Saturday, and he was well weighted. And I thought if he could get back to that sort of performance, he'd just about win. And thankfully he did. And like Rob said, I was topping up at BSP at the end. That was a sick price. That was absolute bottom fuck. It was 3.8. It was very heavily backed. And it's something you've mentioned before. When the tote pays bigger than BSP, there's some pretty serious money on it.
Yeah, indeed. First leg of the quaddie was the Takeover Target, 1,200 metre race. Slow tempo here, 4.9 lengths slow to the 600 on Punting Form's data. Enchanted Heart has lobbed and run over top of Snitz, who sort of half loomed there in the straight. Rob Scurry, what did you think of the small field here for the Takeover Target?
Look, most bred pretty well here, I thought. I'd seen Easy Eddie look better. So I was happy to go around him at the short, and I guess something had to take up percentage, and that was Enchanted Heart, who looked like she'd improved off the run the other day. I still think she's got further improvement in her. That might not be the last win she for the winter for her. But yeah, I landed on a couple of outsiders in Schnitz, who I thought just looked close to top and relaxed them well, and the Japanese bred horse. I don't have the name in front of me. Maybe that can improve on a firmer track, as like Japanese horses do, like that Grand Piano.
Yep.
But yeah, look, the winner seemed to PR, get the job done, but every chance she'll win again, stepping up in distance a little bit.
Yeah, Mark Shean, this is one of yours on the previous show, was it not?
Yeah, I just thought back on the wet that she'd improve, and she did. She got a lovely run, came in a very short price there at the finish, $2.60, I think. They bet $6 first up before deductions, and then plenty of $4.20 on Thursday as well. So very heavily backed. The market didn't like Senior Fox. It was right out the gate with the wet track. I think the winner just lobbed in a good spot. Easy Eddie, bit flat, pretty disappointing. They went slow tempo there for this class of race, and the race was probably set up for him, but he didn't deliver on the day. So certainly all honours with the winner. Senior Fox back on top of the ground would certainly. I think that was an acceptable run.
Yep. It's Mark Rhoden. Senior Fox, certainly just on face value, looking at the last 600 splits, he still managed to find the line okay.
Yeah, he was never the winner, though. I think we've got to be very wary of him on wet tracks going forward. I got this one wrong. I liked Easy Eddie and Schnitz, and one, two, or one in the first three in the run in a slow pace. You think there'd be some chance of collecting, but I must admit, Enchanted Heart did actually look the winner to the eye a fair way out. It was travelling. It was sitting fourth, but it was absolutely travelling. I wonder. I mean, looking at the data, it's very hard to make any excuse for Easy Eddie because the overall first 600 is so slow. But I wasn't happy pre-race when Rob wasn't wrapping him from the yard, and then I wasn't entirely happy in the run despite the apparent lack of pace, because I was hoping he'd just get the lead easily and then gradually increase the tempo. And what's happened is Jay Ford on the 100 to 1 chance kicked up, so he's just made slightly more use of him early, and then it landed 3 lengths in front, and then thought I'm going too quick and slowed down. So he's sort of gradually building momentum through the race. He's gone out probably a touch hard in the first 100, then dropped anchor, and then tried to sprint, and he hasn't been able to. Look, I'm not. I think that's just the way the race panned out. I'm certainly not going looking for him next time out. And he's an old horse now and hasn't won for about 2 years. So, but I'm just saying that I don't think, even though the data will tell you he's been very disappointing there, but I just don't think that's the ideal setup for him.
Sure. Okay, let's look at the Gosford Cup. 2100 listed race. Polly Gray, Chris Waller, Tommy Barry. Well supported. Reasonably enough anyway, certainly from the time at 9am. The horse only really seemed to firm in the market. Defeated Proliferous, and look, it was pretty much spread out after that. Woogok tried to lead on an even tempo, 0.7 lengths slow to the 600 there. Rob Scurry, run us through some of these stayers.
Look, Polly Gray, she's sort of a rangy, kind of lightly framed thing. But the thing about her is she hasn't trained off. She's almost like she's put on condition throughout her prep, which is one of my favourite things to see from the yard. So I just thought, and I knew she was a bit of a soft tracker, and I just thought that she'd be hard to beat. Woogok he's been one of mine. I think I've seen him look better before. I think he's a bit like Enchanted Heart. He's got a race in him this winter, especially on the wet track. He seems to still want to run and dry, and I think he can only improve in condition. So yeah, I wouldn't be sacking him. Other than that, Aliferous looked good. The yard sort of held up pretty well here. The Gay Waterhouse, I don't know how they backed this Hush Rider on a soft track, but they have. So, when I saw that, I thought, well, I know it's short, Polly Gray, but it's still that sort of $2.80 to $3. That's around my price. Yep. So I was happy to get involved, and look, it was a great ride, and looked the winner for a long way.
Mark Shean, why did they back Hush Rider?
Not sure. I don't think they would have been real happy sitting 3 wide on a limb all the way either. I couldn't have found it, and it just got into a bad spot from a whitish barrier too. So I think they were in trouble a long way from home. Polly Gray got into a good spot. I think she'll probably head to Brisbane and hopefully get a bit of cut out of the track there. What can you say about these horses? Cariff, look, he's probably a 2-miler, but he might head to Brisbane for the Brisbane Cup. He just whacked away, and I think he still had a bit of improvement in him looking at him. But apart from that, I thought Stockman a bit disappointing. I know he does take time to wind up, a bit of a grinder, but maybe the Gosford track didn't suit him as well, even though he's won at Wyong. But he just seemed very one-paced.
Yep. Mark Rhoden, are you able to follow anything out of the Cup?
No, not really. No, they're all very well exposed. We know their likes and dislikes. A bit annoyed with myself. On Friday, I wanted to back Polly Gray and save Oliferous and Wugok. I ended up not betting the race because, as mentioned, all the Wagga Cup runners came out. We ran on the Friday, which really did tighten the market right up. I mean, with the full field in, the original full field in, Polly Gray was around $5.50, $5, which would have been a great price. I reckon she would have won anyway. She would have beaten those horses, especially on a soft track. Yeah. But yeah, the market sorted out pretty well. She's got into about 7 to 4 at the death, so let the race go, but it sort of panned out pretty much as expected.
Okay, race 8 was the Coast, the open event for the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. Very fast tempo event, 6 lengths fast to the 600 on Punting Forms data. And Rob, you managed to find old mate Brandenburg on top and had an each-way play. Run us through why you thought that out of the yard.
Just never seen it look better. I've seen him. He's obviously running much higher grade races, so he's never really stood out to me. But dropping back a little bit, he just seemed to stand out. He walked around with a real shine to his coat, big condition, and I didn't see all that much to beat him. Like, I was on Nimmerly the start before, who I found to be very disappointing that day, and maybe she's a better fresh horse, but she seemed to have run well. The John O'Shea horse looked very well again, All Saints Eve, but I don't know how many times we've said it, but these 3-year-olds aren't much good. So we were wasn't left with much, Nudge looked perfect waller, holding condition, walked around very well, but she's like a Saturday horse, and I just thought, well, Brandenburg he might be a bit better than a Saturday horse, and the Warrior was the jock from the barrier, but he's given it an absolute peach. I think I said on the text, he must be really hungry, this jock, and here's a big chance for him. And look, someone new as well. Again, I was tapping away at 10.50 before the race, and then it's BSP's less than the tote. Disgusting.
Mark, Shean, run us through your thoughts in run there, watching a few of these.
Look, he hadn't had much luck his previous 2 runs, Brandenburg. They tried to drive him forward from that wide alley, and they got lucky with East Asia stringing this field right out, and he got into a lovely spot, 1 or 2 off the rail. And, he was just right, cherry ripe for the day, as Rob said. I think they'd probably set him for this race where a lot of horses had been through the mill running in other races, and he's come in here nice and fresh. I think Nudge may not have handled the track. She was off the bit a long way from home, and I'm just doubtful that she got through the ground all that well, even though she was brave hitting the line okay. But she was off the bit probably 700 or 800 out, which is unusual for her. So I'm putting it down to the track for her, but I think she still ran honestly. Brutality sweated up, and he normally seems to race better that way, and he ran well. And apart from that, Wheelhouse, I think he paraded well, but he's been around in everything and probably had enough.
Mark Rhoden, if Nudge turns up in some Brisbane race, are you going to follow your money?
I don't know. I mean, it could have been the track. I haven't been on it. This is the first time I've been on this prep. I thought it was a good race for it. But, again, I sort of knew I was in trouble pre-race. Mark had been so keen on Brandenburg on the Friday, and then Rob was very bullish from the yard, and I'd bet around it, probably because of my savage anti-Bayless bias, but I paid the penalty there. I thought, look, the race was setting up really nicely for Nudge, and then it had Brandenburg's back, and then it got dropped by it, and then came again on the line. So maybe that is the track, or maybe she wants further. She was trying to have more ground as a 3-year-old, although that hasn't been the case since. I don't know. The worry with her is, and I should have probably been awake up to this before betting so heavily on her, is she's just one of these horses with a racing style I hate. They just need. We just come up with an excuse for every time she goes round, and she never bloody wins. So, do I chase my money in Brisbane? I don't know. I don't think so.
That's more than fair enough. Okay, let's have a look at the last, because there was a short favourite in April Rain. They've gone slow here to the 600, 3 lengths slow on the class figure and punting form starter. And Stella Pauline, that horse that's been sort of hacking around at massive odds for however many starts in a row, has held off the short favourite. Rob Scurry, run me through what you thought of the favourite first of all.
I look fat to me. Lovely horse. I think I said in the text, a lot of all-time legend about this horse. I unloaded it on his first start in the maiden, and never won on it. So I was just a bit spooked, maybe victim mentality, thinking, I'll just put the cue in the rack, sent Stella Pauline out on top. As we said last time we talked about her, I think Mark Rhoden said, no, she's maybe back to something like, her best. She wasn't suited last start. They've hated her. To me, she stood out at top, relaxed, and there wasn't much else in the race. The 6 for Rachel looked fairly well, but it's fairly well. So I marked them 4-1 dash, and it was a bit dirty that I didn't send it out for the punters. I'm sure a few of our subscribers might have had something on, but it's a bit of some units left on the table there.
Yeah, Mark Shean, Stella Pauline dropping from a Group 3 back to the benchmark 78. I guess that was a positive for it, but it still hadn't won in ages.
Yeah, look, I actually had it on top on my ratings, but the fact that she hadn't won at 1200, she did have wet form. She'd won on a slow track and probably in the worst ground last start. But I've got to agree with Rob. She absolutely stood out in the yard. I had a peanut on her at $10 on the fair, just on a parade. Because she looked so good. April Rain, I hadn't seen her sweat like that before. Look, she looked big when she won at Canterbury first up, but, there was a lot of music, a lot of crowd there on Saturday, and she just didn't seem to handle that. She looked a lot worse than I'd seen her in the past, and I think she's still got a lot of improvement. And pretty negative ride at the start there, dragged right out the back. Probably a bit too much to do first up, considering that, she's got 60 kilos and a lot of improvement. So wouldn't be sacking her off that run. But Stella Pauline just, got into a nice position, I suppose, the way the track was playing to my eye. I disagree a bit with Mark. I think it was much better off the fence, and I think it just got into a good position, Stella Pauline.
Mark Rhoden, we're probably not going to be able to make too much cash out of this race, though, are we?
Well, I don't know. April Rain's a nice horse. I'd say that. The rest are what they are. I'm probably similar to Mark in that I haven't taken Stella Pauline's last run at place value. I actually said something about it on Friday. That I was sceptical of the figure, that even though she'd run in a much stronger race, finished close up and been in the wrong part of the track, I was sceptical because she'd finished 5th and sort of might have been dragged along by the better class horses, just had a day out and not won anyway, but she's run right up to that again. She's in, this is pretty well the best run of her form of her career. She showed promise as a 2-year-old, never really rated all that well, but she's starting to put together. So maybe there's more wins for her. And I'm sure with all that was said about April Rain, about her condition and not being at obviously not being at her top on Saturday, there's more to come for her. There's Brisbane, obviously, and I'm sure she has another level in her. But with her SP profile, you might be right, and she's not a horse we're going to get a ton of cash out of. I think even despite the fact she's been beaten on Saturday, she's going to be pretty popular wherever she heads next as well. So I don't think she'll be huge odds, but I'm certain there's more wins in store for her anyway.
Okay, that brings us to the end. I'll get a horse or two to follow from each of you. Mark Shean, I'll start with yourself.
Yeah, look, I don't think there were many standout runs on the program. I think Parry Sound, in these staying races through the winter will probably acquit himself well, even though he doesn't handle really wet ground fantastically well, but he got through it okay on Saturday, so I thought he was okay. I don't know about this first winner, Overpass. Geez, he paraded well, but he looks like he's struggling off the bit coming to the turn, and then he just finds another gear. That's 2 wins where if you were betting in the run, you would have gapped him, and then he just goes bang. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I was betting in the run. It was a very, very sad start for me.
And I think April Rain will certainly improve. She might be going to Scone and then maybe to Brisbane after that, but I think she's a big track horse, so I'd probably want her at Eagle Farm rather than Doomben when she gets to Brisbane.
Okay. Mark Rhoden, a horse to follow from yourself.
Londo, race 2. Incredible one. He showed a little bit of promise as an older horse, but been generally disappointing, but that was outstanding. Comparing its time to the other 1,200 metre races on the day, and its last section as well, if that wasn't an outlier, if that wasn't a fluke, there's a good race in him, I think.
Certainly, Punting Form's data would back that up as well. That's the second biggest winning performance on the card, behind Brandenburg, and significantly so. Rob Scurry, horse to follow out of the yard.
Well, I guess Blondo, you have to take that at face value because I couldn't have it from the yard. It looked Fat Waller, April Rain, Fat Waller, so there's improvement there. And like Mark Shean said, I think Parry Sound on a dryish track and maybe Woogok on a wettish track in a staying race.
Okay, very good. Thank you to you all for joining us for the entire season. We'll be back later in the year with the better horses to follow as they resume, and we'll obviously go through the whole of spring. So until then, guys, we'll be still doing a few previews, but enjoy your Mondays off. Go well.
I've got Warwick Farm Wednesday.
Whoa.
Morphettville Saturday.
Yes.
Double header for.
Can't believe I almost forgot that. I can't wait to hear your thoughts out of the yard there, Rob, on Saturday. I think that's probably one thing where there's very much a lack of information coming out of the Adelaide mounting yard, especially when you quite often don't get a full coverage of them parading on .com. So I can't wait to hear your thoughts in a couple of those Group 1s.
Maybe you should move there, Rob, full time. Have you considered that, moving to Adelaide and just taking charge of the yard down there?
He's carving them up in Sydney. What are you talking about?
No, look, I love, I love a fresh lot of horses. I'm not, it's not going to be Fuchu Japan, but I love just having the chance to, to win when, I've got no right to.
Beautiful. Well, we've got 5 days to wait until that. Can't wait. But Warwick Farm in the meantime. So obviously we'll see how you fare out there, because that's not one of your favourite tracks, is it?
Yeah, well, I just haven't had a lot of luck. No, it's not like I seem to lose it. I've won out there last couple of times, so yeah, let's. I'm hopeful, and yeah, if it's a nice day and I've got a 5 or better, there's every chance that we'll find a winner or two.
All right, sounds good. Until then, go well, guys.